Good, good. Sean, first of all, I just obviously wanted to get your reaction to City being named, being finally confirmed as Premier League champions.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they've more than earned the right. I think early season they had a very small blip, but people sort of started the season with a few question marks. But they bounced back after a quiet season last season by their standards, of course. Although I think we're all aware Liverpool are outstanding. And really this season have been comfortable all season, or for the majority of it.
And just looking at that, I mean, when you look at what they've achieved, that 21-game winning streak, what does that say about the kind of quality and the kind of, I suppose, culture that Pep Guardiola has created there?
I don't think it says any more than it's been saying for the last number of years. Their first season was a tough one, of course. I think Pep, like all managers, adapt and learn and learn about the divisions they're in. I think it's fair to say he changed the side and the way it played a number of times. It didn't quite work as cleanly. And then the following season, they went to what you'd know as a very similar format that he'd used previously and were fantastic. You look at Liverpool, incredible season. So that was tough for everyone in the division because they were just steamroller in the season. And then, you look at what they've done this season, back to a very good outfit, very strong group of players, and a very, very considered manager, really. I don't think he rolls it out there like none of us do, despite what people think sometimes. I think he'll work with the side, still keeping them sharp, still keeping the edge on them. The biggest thing for me is motivating a group of fantastic players on a consistent basis, and he's done that. A season's work is tough for everyone in different areas of the division, and he's shown again that he's got a side under his guidance that can do that.
I saw you said you go for a pint with Jurgen Klopp. Would this then go for Pep as well?
I go with a pint for anyone. I've got to be honest, I'm quite partial. At the minute, anyone, anywhere, to be honest. At least we're sort of showing some signs we might be allowed a bit more freely next week. We'll wait and see. But no, look, joking apart, you have respect for all these people. It's on the sidelines. I've said this before, on the sidelines, we're all competitive. We're all working for our team to win. And all the bickering, sometimes the fun as well, that's on them sidelines with these managers. If you meet these guys at a social event or on holiday and all that, the respect is there, I can assure you. You'd never turn someone down for a drink and a chat and whatever that may be, whether it's a coffee, a glass of wine or a pint. There's a big respect in football, I think, between managers. It's just on the sideline, everyone's competitive. Everyone's fighting for their corner to win.
How much do you deserve a pint for guaranteeing another season of Premier League football then, Sean, as well? And how much satisfaction do you take from that as well?
Well, it's the satisfaction is not about getting a pint, I can assure you. I always deserve one of them. But I think the satisfaction comes from a group of players giving their lot again. We've had loads of challenges this season. I've had my fair share off the pitch. So I'm happy with my performance through that time because it's been a tougher time than people think. To stay focused on the job. A group of players, a group of staff who give their lot all the time, and that's an important factor. That will never go out of fashion for me. Hard work and maximising your potential, if you like, as individuals and as a team. So eventually it comes down to players, always for me. We can only guide them, only try and let them know the things that we think will be successful for them. But at the end of the day, it comes down to players as individuals and the team delivering. And I think these players deserve a massive amount of credit. Still 3 games to go, by the way. I haven't lost sight of that. We will be focused on them 3 games, but it's fair to say the last little period has been tough. It's been challenging. Not so much for the performance levels, but we didn't get the points I thought we deserved out of some of the games. But then the key ones we have. And I think that's been an important factor for my 8 odd years here. And it still will be an important factor going forward. These players, they do produce on a regular basis when they really need to. And I think they've shown that again.
When you say tougher than people think, what has been the toughest aspect for you?
Well, any sale, there's always things that go on behind the scenes that are tough and challenges. I mean, the obvious one, you don't go intend on a close season and spending 750,000. That's not your intention when you're a Premier League manager. Trust me. So that was a challenge in itself. But equally, I did balance that off by saying when we get everyone fit, which unfortunately we haven't had everyone fit very often, but when we get everyone fit, I did say I think the squad's more than capable. So I've been pleased with my view of it. And then the performance levels that have got us another season in the Premier League guaranteed with 3 games to go. From when we hit Game 7, and get 2 points, even me, you're wondering where's this heading, but I still had a big belief in what these players can give. So I've been pleased with that side of things and the calmness about how we operate and how it can get us wins. So loads of different things have gone on. And then the new owners coming in, trying to get a deal done, which took forever, and then finally getting there, and you've got kind of 10 days, 2 weeks of the next window left, and it's very difficult then. January is difficult anyway. So a lot's gone on, but I've been pleased with the measure I've had over it as a manager. The balance that I've shown and my staff have shown in dealing with some of the challenges. But like I say, most of it comes down to the players. It always does for me. I'm a massive player fan, getting behind my players, working with them, trusting them. And they've done a remarkable job this year, I think, against many, many challenges.
You probably get asked this a number of times. You've been asked it in the past, but what is the next step now and how do you take it?
Well, it's often the case, when I've had a restart, I'd say it every year because it's true. We have a restart situation. We've often lost players. We hope to not do that, of course, and we're in a stronger position to not do that. So the last few years we have managed to keep players here. We want to try and add to the squad, possibly. I'd like to think there'll be more than 750,000 available. I mean, I might have that wrong, but I'd like to think there's more than that available. So that's a good start. So, these things that are being put in place, hopefully, may come to fruition. But I do remind you and everyone else, look, you can have as much money as you want. You've still got to find the right players. And that's not an easy task. Recruitment in football is a very, very tough thing. There's only a certain pool of players that fit our financial sort of levels. There's only a certain players that fit our financial on the contract side of things, the personal side of things. So we're still shopping in a certain market. You can have 100 million, but you've got to satisfy the contracts of spending 100 million, and that's the tough bit. That join between the contracts, the amount of fees paid and the contract. That's often the toughest bit.
Is there any concern then, Sean, when it comes to that summer transfer window? Because we've seen interest in the players, and you mentioned obviously keeping all the likes of McNeil, James Tarkowski with the interest that there's been in the past. But if every player has their price, then the issue that faces you is being able to bring in adequate replacements and making sure they can hit the ground running. Is that where any concerns come in the summer transfer window?
Well, not really, because I never mention them players. You mention them. I never mention them players. I just speak about my whole group of players. So other people have applied their thinking of what I'm thinking, bizarrely. I don't even know what I'm thinking. So how you do and they do is always a complex situation. So no, I mean, look, we're looking to recruit in all areas. We always are. I've always said it. We're not in a position to cherry pick, or very rarely do we cherry pick players because of the financial model. The model may change, but I don't think it's going to be radical change. I think it'll be a controlled change. So we're always looking for the right players at any given time. It's just that we have to be flexible with our thinking. We have to be open-minded to what the market may bring us, whilst protecting the people who we think are good players inside of the building. And we found the balance mostly. And last season, the first time, it was really, really out of kilter. But that was the outgoing owner on board. It was a different situation, a lot more challenging.
And looking ahead to, obviously, the weekend, what have you made of Leeds this season?
Well, firstly, I made of the fact that I was recently massively misquoted about a comment that Jeff Stelling made, actually, to Chris Boyd, I believe, when we were watching it one day, when he said they've only spent 100 million, and somehow that got applied to me. I know why, because it makes good clickbait, but I was surprised at that. So to be clear, I didn't say that. It was Jeff, and I understood his point in some ways, because Leeds are a big football club. But to say it was only 100 million, well, he must have a few quid himself. He describes it only as 100 million. I merely suggested that they've spent 100 million. Didn't question the manager because I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job. He quite clearly has a style that he stands by. He quite clearly has motivated the players, both last season and this season, to do the job, and done it they have, that's for sure. Never a question mark about the manager. Never a question mark about managers in general, actually. My respect level is off the scale for managers because I know how difficult the job is. So just to clear that up, that's my first thought is silly Jeff, who I do know, as you know that I do, and top guy. But yeah, it's his comment, not mine.
Clearly, I don't need to pass the message on to him. Thanks, Sean. Speak to you soon.
Take care.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you. Naz, Premier Productions.
Hi, Sean, you okay?
Hiya.
You were mentioning the respect for Marcelo Bielsa. He spent 10, 15 minutes in his press conference, waxing lyrical about you and Burnley and saying, what a wonderful job you've done. In terms of that, is this the greatest achievement from a managerial point of view for you, with everything that's gone on, the 2 points from 7, the no fans, the pandemic, the difficult circumstances, keeping Burnley up this season? Is it up there with your greatest achievements as a manager?
It is internally when you think about the job of management, because some clubs have changed, by the way. So some clubs where we all know that there's more of a coach role. This club have been a manager, managed lots of things. And so as a management role, then yes, it's been my most successful. But a viewpoint from outside wouldn't deem that, of course, because you'd be saying we got into Europe and stuff like that. But that's a different form of success. It's a different form of management. This has been managing lots of things, trying to keep the place on an even keel. People will tell you anyone can take the wheel of a ship in calm water. It's not so easy when it's not. So therefore, as a manager, that's when you start thinking, okay, I've guided the ship through some rough seas, and I've been pleased with that. Other achievements are for the other seasons, different kind of moments in time. Possibly Marcelo, I don't know him personally, but possibly he recognises they've got a different style. We've got a different style, rightly or wrongly. Probably recognise the fact that it's not easy. He knows, he's been around football long enough, and he knows it's not an easy task being in these divisions and staying in them. So, yeah, again, I don't know him personally, so I think it's a sign of respect. I try and pay my respects where they're due, and I think they're certainly due with Marcelo and what he's done there. So maybe that's why he's recognising our work, and I do thank him for it.
Chris Wood's up to 50 Premier League goals. He's really turning into a huge player for you and your team, isn't he?
Yeah, the same player at the beginning of the season, they said couldn't score. So, this is the story of a season. It's the way it goes. I'm used to it. He's getting used to it. So are all my players. They can't do this, they can't do that. And then they do it. And then they can do this and they can do that. Life as a Premier League footballer, lots of scrutiny, lots of question mark, lots of praise. So we all get a bit more rounded with that season on season. He's a very good player. I wouldn't have bought him here unless I thought he was. At the time, it was a record signing. I think it's fair to say we've had incredible value, even at 15 million. I think it's been incredible value. We still continue to get value. But I could say that about a lot of our players, and he's certainly one of a very, very good group of players who I think continues to develop.
Is it nice as well, going into the final 3 games, you're not looking over your shoulder? There's a little bit of a bit of less pressure for you, and maybe are you going to potentially bring in a couple of the younger guys into the team before the end of the season? Is there a chance to experiment a little in these last 3?
Well, we want to finish the season strong. Excuse me. We've got a couple of situations where players who will miss games because of injury. They've been hanging on. Phil Bardsley, he's got a hernia situation. He's been keeping himself right, training very hard to make sure that we saw the job through. That will need doing now. There's a couple of others who need just things being looked at to make sure. So we'll have to get on top of them, because we can't obviously keep going with these injuries. We can't. Well, we hope to not go into the next pre-season and have all these injuries. So therefore, the things that players have been carrying, we've got to try and get on top of. In balance that, we want to finish the season right. I've said recently, although we didn't get all the points I thought we deserved, but our performance levels have been good. We want to maintain that. We still want to perform over these next 3 games. Of course, there's a different viewpoint. It's natural when you've had such a challenging season that there's a bit of relief for everyone, where they get the initial job, that is, to be in the Premier League, when they get that signed off. Now it's, can we take on the next 3 games with that kind of little bit more open-mindedness that sometimes comes when that bit of freedom comes. So that'll be the challenge, whether we change the team or not. The challenge is, can we go hard and deliver in these next 3 games and finish the season off correctly? And of course, there's always the financial angle as well. Every pound's a prison at this club. I don't think that's going to change.